All right, we're back again here, locked on ACC. Grayson Allen, former Duke Blue Devil superstar, suspended one game for a flagrant foul against Alex Caruso. We're going to talk about his pattern of craziness and why maybe the league isn't doing enough when it comes to handling Allen, and more of the ACC weekend games recapped.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. Thank you so much for joining us today. Kenton Gibbs, Locked On Wolfpack Monday episode co-host, and we are ready to get things rocking and rolling here. Want to make sure you guys are all equipped to talk about some ACC action. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, and today's episode is brought to you by Sonos. Experience the game like never before with Sonos Arc, the premium smart soundboard for TV, movies, music, gaming, and more. Visit Sonos.com to learn all about it. Ken Gibbs, hope you had a great weekend full of good games, full of good hooping, and everything else in between.
Well, it's everybody can't say that both of their teams won this weekend, so I feel bad for those people. But NC State fans cannot relate. NC State fans alike cannot relate.
Hey, sometimes it be like that. I feel like Carolina basketball as a collective just needs to plug it out, plug it back in, blow on a little bit. Maybe we'll just start over and regroup tomorrow, but no tea, no shade. I took a shot. I'll take the stray. It's totally fine. But we also both share something in common when it comes to talking about another familiar foe in the triangle. Grayson Allen, former Duke Blue Devil star, was suspended one game by the NBA because he had an unnecessary and excessive contact against Chicago Bulls guard Alex Caruso, according to the press release from the NBA communications office. And unfortunately, Caruso injured his wrist and is now going to have surgery. So I'm sitting here saying this is not the first time we've experienced some issues with Grayson Allen. As we know, he's currently a Milwaukee Buck. But when he was a Blue Devil, he was suspended for tripping people in college. And then as he got into the league, he was ejected for 2 flagrant fouls in a summer league game. And then he tripped people in the NBA and could have ended Caruso's season due to a really cheap shot. Was one game enough? Let's start there.
Well, first of all, let me just say this. I apologize to ACC sports fans because we should be talking about folks who are still actively in the ACC.
Sure.
But this man, Grayson Allen, has shown his behind once again for the 11th time. Shout out to Lil Jon and the Yin Yang twins because he's going to do it 11 more times if he's allowed to be back in the NBA with one-game suspensions being it. He's facing a one-game suspension. How long is Alex Caruso going to be injured?
Weeks. More than one game.
That's my point right there. The disincentive to do this has to be as strong as the possible outcome of this. People are talking about the possible outcome being a career ender. Sure, possibly. But let's talk about the tangible, what actually happened. Let's tether this thing to reality. Mm-hmm. For me, when a player has multiple flagrant fouls, if they flagrantly foul somebody and injure somebody, and the league decides that it is to the level of a suspension, good. You should be suspended for as many games as the player that you hurt will miss.
Seems like a lot of games.
At the end of the day, this is a pattern that is shown with him going all the way back to Duke, right? And I get it. You're not supposed to be relegated to or punished for things that you did in a different league because the NCAA and NBA, 2 different leagues, sure. But the reality is to continue to show a pattern, to be suspended in summer league in the NBA, one and the same, to go on and do things like this, to have tripping incidents where you aren't suspended or fined. And this is what you followed up with. At this point, it's not an accident. It's not a one-off. This is who you are. This is who you are.
I'm wondering if, any onus is on a coach like Coach K, who's very militant, very military based, and very much about structure and discipline. If he should have nipped this in the bud quicker, should have had a real one-on-one, heart-to-heart talk with Grayson and said, your future and how you play, moving forward will be dependent on how you carry yourself. There's one thing to have passion. There is a whole nother thing to be reckless. And I think he does not have the right combination of being passionate, playing hard, and not doing, cheap things in order to win games. And I think that's the problem, because we're all passionate. Every person who's been a former athlete knows when you want to win, you want to do everything to win, but not to the point to where it's going to injure somebody and purposely keep people out just for the sake of you wanting to get a W at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not only that, it is to do what he did, to not even check on your opponent who took a nasty fall. It is, I mean, it's shameful activity. It really and truly is. And I don't know what Coach K did or did not do with him behind the scenes. What I will say is, if there was anything done, it has not been effective.
Did not get to the head. It did not resonate.
It didn't take. It didn't,
Yeah.
it just didn't work out.
Now,
And
playing devil's advocate, is it something to where, because he's done it a couple of times, he's just given this bad record and we all just put him as, stamp of this? Because we've seen other athletes that we say they're crazy because they've had a couple incidences, or they're too aggressive. I think of Burfsit, who's done some hard hits in the NFL, right? And we just stamp him as being a super dirty player. We do Ndamukong Suh, who stepped on people, and he has this thing about him now. Have we just stamped Grayson Allen with sometimes it being yeah, that was a tough, hard foul, but I don't know if he did it on purpose. But even if he didn't, that's just what we, mark him as because of what he's done in previous instances.
But at least with the two that you aforementioned, or the aforementioned players, number one, they play a much more violent sport. Many of the hits that Vontaze Burfict did that were just god awful, and we look at as he committed capital murder now, when he started playing football, they were legal. As high as his college career, the hits that he was doling out were legal. Nobody really looked at him and was like, oh, God, this is a bad dude. It's no, he's a hard hitter. That's how it comes. The rules have changed. He did not adapt with the rules. Congratulations. You're a dirty player according to today's rules and standards. But when I'm looking at Grayson Allen, when has there ever been a time in his basketball career? Last time I checked, Grayson Allen was born in what, 98, 97?
Sure.
At the end of the day, you're not in a situation to where you can say, oh, yeah, there was a point in time where you played, where Grayson Allen played, where you could pull guys out of the air and everything was going to be all right. That wasn't a flagrant. That wasn't a dangerous situation. That's just the reality. The boy was born in 95. He was born the same year I was born. So the reality here is defensively, or not even defensively, on the court, certain things are a no-no. It's never been a time in my life. I grew up playing all the sports. And there was never a time where they said, hey, Kenton, if you think that your pick ain't going to be good enough, just stick a leg out there. You get beat defensively, just, clip his ankle from under him. There's never been a time, Kenton, if you about to get dunked on, just go ahead and, you know what I mean? Just yank him on out there for one time.
Yeah.
It's never been a thing.
We've also known other ACC players who, for instance, I think about, former Wake Forest star Chris Paul, who's been known for not being the most positive player on the court or doing things that are cheapened. And I just akin that to, but why is his, he gets the State Farm commercials and he's just, this really nice guy and blah, blah, blah. But when you see him do things on the court, they're very questionable at times. And is it because I have this eye of saying, you do it once, that's who you are? I'm thinking about Julius Hodge and NC State and how he hit him in the sack and was able to, steal a game away. And then when I'm, hard about Grayson Allen because I'm not exactly a Duke lover, am I just yeah, that's who he is and being super negative? It's a balancing act to me.
I think that it is, but also we could call a spade a spade. Regardless of where your alliance lies, regardless of what teams you like, what teams you don't, whatever the case may be, you can call a spade a spade. Chris Paul tried to separate the man who was at his wedding, I believe one of his groomsmen in LeBron James' shoulder, going up for a rebound. You can admit the guy's nuts. He's still hitting people in the nuts till this day. You can admit the young man is a little unwell in the head. He's a little touched.
Is it
That's
touched or is it too desperate of wanting to win? And like I think that's where I go back to Grayson Allen. Do you want to win so badly that you're willing to do everything, tear limb from limb to get a W? Like is that what it is for you? And I think that's really sad because you have a skewed vision of what life is really about.
I mean, I guess, but again, that's just an incredibly dangerous play. It's an
100%.
incredibly dangerous play, and to me, I don't understand why that is a 1 game suspension.
Hmm.
Just a 1 game suspension.
Yeah,
The
I
the
agree.
the amount of people who see that play and recognize the danger in it is exponential. Everybody looks at that and sees how dangerous it is. But the amount of people who have played a sport at a high level, who played basketball at a high level, and you've been in the air and had somebody undercut you or take you down in a similar manner, you know what a scary moment that is.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, and for Caruso to go down and hear a pop, and all of a sudden the man can't even shoot a free throw. It's terrible. It's
yeah.
just terrible. And I don't want to say it, but I got to say it. Grayson's a menace that they need to do more about.
He's a super gremlin. He definitely is a super gremlin when it comes
Well,
to fouling in the ACC and also in the NBA. Maybe he'll figure it and turn some things, have a heart to heart, get some anger management, whatever it is. We hope that he gets things together. But we are going to transition and talk about some ACC games over the weekend. It's been some highs and lows for teams all across the conference. We want to make sure that you guys are super into it. But first, hey guys, if you have not yet, I strongly encourage you to get the app Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up just by downloading the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play. You can use promo code SCORE, SCORE, and get a bonus of 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use promo code SCORE, SCORE, to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. The cash back gets added right to your account. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE. All right, we're rocking and rolling here with Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. And as he mentioned, he had a great weekend of games for his teams, both men and women, but would love to touch on some of this action that we saw on Saturday with all of our teams here in the ACC. Let's start with, of course, the top of the dome. Duke played Syracuse, and it was all Duke all day. The Blue Devils beat the Syracuse Orange 79-59. And once you take out Buddy Boeheim and you limit him and his brother to only 19 points combined, it's a hard day for any kind of offensive scheme or offensive comeback for Syracuse. And it certainly was evident by the way they played in Cameron.
I think it's time for Jim Boeheim. I do.
Really?
I do. I do.
Okay.
Bro, go enjoy your family. Go, I get it. Your boys play for you, so you are enjoying time with them. You're 77, bro. You're 77. You've had a great run, a really, really great run. It's been proven that the schemes that you run, the zones, the long athletic players and all that, not panning out like it used to. It's just not. So with that being said, go Jim, you've had an illustrious career. You are one of the greats, no doubts about this. It's time. It's time. Go on about your way.
I can say I think that when you're evaluating coaches and when it is time to give up and time to stay forward, I think it's always going to be come down to someone who has, forever tenure at a place. And when you were listening to the broadcast on the Duke Syracuse game, he's been there 60 plus years. That's all he knows is Syracuse basketball. So I think until he's ready, he's not going to go. But I will say, given the fact that they're currently sitting at 9-10, you have to start having honest conversations. And maybe when Jimmy graduates, then we'll have maybe let's transition and go right off into the sunset conversation. But I definitely know that it's going to take him doing it in order to finally, let it go for real. We also had Boston College play Virginia Tech, and shout out to the Eagles and Coach Grant. I'm telling you what, I never thought that they would be winning 8 games, but here they are beating the Hokies 68-63 on a Saturday, your final score. And I'm just gonna say positive. If he doesn't win ACC Coach of the Year, I don't know what to tell you. He's ACC Coach of the Year for me.
Well, if you think that anybody other than Coach K is going to win ACC Coach of the Year in his last year where his team is the best team in the conference, Well,
They're not the best team in the conference. Florida State and Miami are currently sitting at 1-2.
I'm sorry, where his team is one of the best teams in the conference. I'm sorry. I'm
But there
sorry.
was a
And
game that
honestly,
he wasn't there that they won. So was it his
honestly,
coaching?
I agree. I agree. To me, the choice is Jim Lornega. To me, for coach of the year, the choice is Jim Lornega. Nobody saw this coming from Miami. People expected them to be in
Did
that.
they not though? I'm
People
pretty
expected them in the
sure.
upper rung. Nobody expected them to be number one in the conference.
Sure, McGusty and Wong have certainly stepped up, but Miami stayed in games or was able to fight back very hard and just had one or two slip ups or one or two turnovers that really turned it around. But I think that, to me, again, nobody had Boston College winning an ACC game. Not one. You can't sit here and tell me anybody thought Boston College would win an ACC game.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay.
Everybody knew Boston College was bad. Everybody thought they were going to be terrible. I'm agreeing. But what I'm saying is, if you look at the history, the trend of coach of the year, especially for the major sports, football, basketball, it does not go to the coaches who get the most out of their talent 9 times out of 10. It just doesn't.
That's unfortunate because isn't that the point? Is that not the point of coaching?
To me, coach of the year should go to the guy who we look at and we say, all right, this coach, to me, what they've done with their program is better than what anybody else could do with theirs in this particular year.
I think that everybody is so used to having studs at the respective programs that nobody could come in and do what they're doing right now in Boston College.
And that's fair, but again, that's not necessarily where you go with that award.
And that's unfortunate.
And again, if you look at football, right? Mm-hmm. The year that NC State had every injury in the world, I want to say it was like 2018 or 2019. Everybody in their mom was injured. You could not name a position where they had not lost at least 2 players for the year. They went, I want to say 4-8 or 5-7. If you look at that roster and all the players that got injured, you would say, no, wait a minute. I don't care if you play in the Southeastern Directional School for the Deaf and Blind, the ability to win 4 with the cast of misfit characters that you got, amazing. Nobody cared to say, oh, Doran should be in consideration for coach of the year. And I'm not saying he should have been. Based on the way that it's historically been picked, it makes sense why he wasn't, and that's okay. But with Boston College, when he gets that program rolling well, when he gets them rolling to the point where it's not just the occasional, like, wait, they're 2-4 in conference? Hold on, they're doing great. When he gets them to 4-2 in conference, when he gets them to 8-4 in conference, then you can be saying, hold on now, because Boston College been cheeks at basketball for the longest time.
Cheeks.
And here they are showing something. A hot 2-pack of bums.
Well, they're not even last in the ACC. They're in the middle of the pack, and that's why I feel like you have to give some respect for the Eagles. But that's just me. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, towards the end of the season when the awards get busy. Florida State beat Miami 61-60, and when I say that Florida State did everything they could to try and give it back to Miami because they certainly were in control of the game, it was one of those heart attacks, but kudos to Coach Hamilton and that squad. I'm sitting here saying, as Florida State sits atop of our men's basketball rankings, scary team right now. They're starting to figure out who they are. And that's a dangerous game you play with a team that knows how to get deep in a bench.
I think that this is the same Florida State that we've always seen. A bunch of really long athletes, 1 or 2 freak freshmen, and guys who they play good connected defense. They're all long. They're all athletic. And you're going to have a couple guys out of that group that know how to score. This year, it happens to be Polite. And is it Sims? Is it the point guard? What is
it Mills?
Number 4, Mills. There we go. Mills and Polite happen to be the 2 that are doing that this year. But they're always a tough out. And I'll tell you what. If Wong from the MCU did as much as Isaiah Wong, there would have been no need for Avengers Endgame. It would have been over soon as Thanos came to Earth because, man, Isaiah Wong is a bad dude. He played a really good game. I would have liked to see him kick that ball out to the top of the key at the end of the game when he was being doubled. But I get it. I understand sometimes when it's about that last shot, you want your best player taking it. He's their best player, without a doubt. So what that game was and their fight to come back from as much as they were down, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Let's talk about the rest of these games here. After we remind you guys that, it's NFL playoff time, college basketball is in full swing, conference play. You want to get right with some betting action. So you got to go to BetOnline. The fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports is simply where the game starts. It remains your number one spot for all of the best sports wagering action for 2022. With a new year, new updated desktop and mobile website, you can sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit just by using promo code Locked On to get started. From football, basketball, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage when you sign up today with BetOnline.ag. And once you finish that, I'm trying to tell you, it is a new year, new you. You got your betting together, and now you want to get right when it comes to getting fit. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar and is super healthy and 100% covered in real chocolate. You want to eat healthy, but it just gets so boring by like week 3. You might be thinking, this is just not worth it. Where is the chocolate? Well, I'm telling you, Built Bar has got you covered. Here's an idea for the new year. Go to all of your secret stashes at home in the pantry. Throw a Built Bar in that bad boy. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. There's so many flavors to choose from, whether it's coconut, almond, mint, brownie, salted caramel, or more. Man, Built has everything going, and sometimes they get some new limited time flavors. So check out Built.com often to see what's new. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15, that's LOCKED15, to get 15% off your order. All right, with Kenton Gibbs wrapping up today's show here, and we are going over some of the matchups that we saw over the weekend and touching on just a bit. Notre Dame beat Louisville in a very lopsided matchup. Shout out to the Fighting Irish. Won't sit there too long, but the NC State-Virginia game was a very good performance for the Wolfpack as they were trying to have one of those defining games for them, big energy games for them, double-digit wins for them. Great job by the Pack, Terquavion Smith, Darion Sebron and company. They needed that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this has been a very challenging season so far. That's the reality. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This has been a challenging season for the Pack so far. But with that being said, that game went a long way in showing how good this team can be. And don't get me wrong, this was one of those games where everything went right for the Pack, everything fell for the Pack. They are on the season about a 30% three-point shooting team on the year. They were 12 of 22 from deep against UVA. Like that's, even in UVA's worst years, they're going to play some defense. That's what you know about UVA. And Terquavion Smith, Jericho Helms, Darian Sebron, they combined to pretty much down them by themselves. And so when you have that type of situation, all those bigs over at Virginia and the way that NC State has made anybody who was over 6'5" that walks on the court against them may look like a god amongst men at some point in time. So for them to keep those 6'11" and 7-footers, looking like normal basketball players is a bit of a feat, but it's not something that I expect to be the norm going forward. It's great. It's exciting, but don't hold your breath for that again.
Sure. And then Clemson taking care of business with Pitt. Not going to spend a lot of time there because it was just another one of those games where Pitt had a high moment, but then sometimes they have low moments. And that certainly was one against the Tigers, losing 75-48. And then you have Wake Forest in Carolina, North Carolina losing 76-98, a 22-point deficit. It was the second time that Carolina has been beat by 20 points or more. And just the last time they did that was their 8-20 season when they finished out. And I'm just sitting here saying, the books are cooked for Carolina. It's been real. I'm glad we all had fun. It was a nice thought to think that this was an NCAA tournament team, but we might be one of those last four in, last four out if we can't get things together.
I will say this about UNC this year. They have played very well against bad teams, which is a feat in and of itself. But with that being said, they have been atrocious against good teams.
Atrocious.
I mean, it's been really, really bad. As far as, don't they have, I want to say it's every time they played a team in the top 25, they've lost by double digits.
We don't need help. I got you. We don't need your help. Thank you. Keep rolling.
Okay, so with that being said, I mean, again, this is a team that
it's unfortunate. It's
really tough, and luckily for them, the ACC is really bad this year. I know that it's not as bad as people originally thought. I know that some people out there who were on certain mind-altering substances were saying that this is a one-bid league. now, whoever said that. But yeah, this ACC is not what we've seen in the past. So if they can only beat bad teams, congratulations. You'll still get enough wins to get into the tournament
Yeah.
this year.
But I think when you think about who Carolina is as a program, they're not that right now. Not even
No,
close.
no.
When it comes to expectation, and as someone who's been there, a graduate, someone who has watched, guys go on to the pros in, multiple fashions, I think it's very frustrating because you're used to a certain standard of excellence. That's when it's not met. It's what are we doing here? You don't know how to fix it. Because to me, as much as people are harping on Coach Davis, it is not his problem. You can't teach heart. You can't teach want to. You can't teach be a part of the Carolina family and the Jordan brand and all of that. So that swag is cool, but they only got cool grades once. They ain't got a new pair of shoes since because they don't deserve it. Let's keep it a band. I wouldn't let them play in jerseys with North Carolina on their chest. If it were me, I think we've moved away from like being too hard on people and wanting soften blows. No. Like, let's get back to the root of it. Let's get back to earning your keep. They need to step up in ways that they are not doing. And I know they want every game. They always come sad face coming into their post presser talking about it starts with me, can't play hero ball, we got to work together. Where's the synergy? Do y'all not like each other? Do y'all not hang out with each other outside of here? Are y'all told not to hang out with each other? Like, what is going on? Like, it doesn't feel like it's a team. It feels like a 5-man band with a couple extra, background singers who just happen to, come in whenever it's needed. I think the loss of Anthony Harris due to academic issues for the season is going to be tough because he was an energy booster. And you just don't have anybody that's willing to step up for an entire game or get people to step up as well. Call somebody out. Don't worry about hurt feelings. Do you want to be good or don't you? It's frustrating.
I mean, I get it. The standard is the standard, right? I come from a football powerhouse in the Midwest, but that's what we say all the time. The standard is the standard. We don't adjust the standard because guys are young. We don't adjust the standard because this happens or that happens. We figure it out and we mull through it. But with that being said, I think that we need to give a little more grace for a first-time head coach in his first.
Yeah, okay. I'll give grace to the head coach. I'm not giving grace to the players.
His first. But here's the thing. It is upon the coach to build that synergy. It is upon the coach to make those things happen.
So you're blaming Coach Davis.
What I'm saying is, with the assemblance of talent that they have, there is no way that every time they play a top 25 team, you should be expecting a 20-point loss. They have too much talent for that. I'm not saying that they're the most talented team in the world. They have too much talent for that.
So Coach Davis doesn't know how to bring out the dog in them.
Listen, you're right. You cannot coach hard. You are absolutely right. You cannot coach hard, but you can coach chemistry, or you can develop chemistry through coaching and through putting them in certain situations where, hey, you all are all you've got. I don't know how many times I can explain this. Hey, this detail needs to be met. Hey, Caleb, when you're driving and this guy collapses from this way, your shooter is going to be here. Identify him, get him the ball. Shooter, know that it's coming to you when you see this. Make the shot, period.
So they need to go to the woods. They need to do a run in the rain and go to some woods, go to, the grave sites and talk about, when back in the day, when they had to run, and Hubert Davis had to earn his. Now, let me finish. They had to. I don't know if you guys seen this movie. Go with me here. Maybe they should run, in the woods in the rain. Go a couple miles. Listen about how the heart and soul of the team and the character and what it means to be a Carolina person and all that Hubert had to go through. Maybe they need those honest conversations. Maybe they need some guys to come in and run with them and tell them that you have to earn your keep being here at Carolina. It's a privilege to play. It's not a right.
With the woods of North Carolina, I'm not exactly sure that you. Never mind. We're not going to go there today.
Okay. But you know what movie I'm talking about, right?
But remember the Titans.
Okay.
Yes,
okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I get it. I'm with you.
You think they should do some sort of team bonding activity that's grueling that makes them appreciate what they're doing together more.
The thing is, it's too late. It's too.
Damn.
If you're reading this, it's too late. If you're hearing this in the middle of the season, I think they're at the midway point, right? They're
for sure.
Midway.
It's almost February. It's too late. Books are cooked. It's all good.
You are who you are. In the words of Jay-Z, you can try to change, but that's just the top layer. Homie, you was who you was when you got here. This team got here is who they are. It's too late. Except beating really bad teams and hope that here's the thing that should be the hope for North Carolina fans right now. You have a team that's good enough to get to the tournament, right? When you get to the tournament, anything can happen. Oral Roberts got hot a couple years ago and made a Sweet 16. Y'all are more talented than them. Y'all have better guards than they had. Now, better guard play, I don't know. More
Can you play
talented guard.
defense? All of it boils down to, can you stop the other team from putting in the basket? And if you can't, you can shoot all day long, but if you can't stop nobody, what's the point?
But that's the thing.
And you can't always respond offensively. So that's the other part.
But that's the thing. Come tournament time, if a team, let's say you have your first game of the tournament, you're playing against a team you're better than. You just got a good draw. You're better than that team. Cool. Boom. Now you're to the round from 64 to 32. Okay. Round of 32. That team just has a horrible shooting night. Y'all do everything right. Boom. You can get to the Sweet 16. Elite 8. You got a matchup that can't do nothing with Baycott. Who knows? Who knows? You could go a little further. Not saying that this team should be, not saying that the fans and whatnot should be expecting of this, but just get in. Just get in. Just have hope and belief that this team is going to do what it takes to get in the tournament, and from there, they'll make something happen. Again, this is a big brand name team. The tournament benefits from them being in, which is something that, as much as we hate to say it, it is very obvious that goes into the tournament selection committee ideals. I see Oklahoma with Trae Young getting in, despite being worse than multiple teams that they got in ahead of.
See Notre Dame getting into every college football playoff, Anyway, all right, guys, it's been real. I always got to take a little shady shot at Notre Dame when I can. But I want to remind you guys that if you want to get some more of this action, you can follow us on Twitter at LockedOnACC. You can follow Kenton Gibbs on all of his respective channels. And you can make sure you come back tomorrow as we're going to talk a little women's hoops here. Want to make sure we get those games in. We have a lot to discuss and unpack there. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, we hope you have a great rest of your day. And also, if you want to have a little more betting action with the Locked On Podcast Network, strongly encourage you to download the Locked On Bets podcast. It's available anywhere you listen. So appreciative of your time, Kenton. Thank you so much. Until next time, folks, we'll see you again.